There was a time when Las Vegas really was the city that never slept, a neon oasis where a cheap flight and a wild weekend could make you feel like you'd beaten the odds. But if you look past the iconic glow today, you see something else entirely. A shadow spreading across the Strip. Those colossal hotel towers that once bragged about record-breaking occupancy now hide entire floors swallowed by silence. Casino halls that used to roar with slot machines and cheers feel eerily muted. The legendary buffets once overflowing with tourists ready to feast are shrinking, shutting down, or pricing people out. So what happened? How did the city that promised everyone a chance to win become a place so many people are walking away from? Was it just bad luck, or did someone quietly rig the game? Hidden resort fees. Parking charges in a city that built its legend on free parking. Roulette wheels tilted even further toward the house. Meals and buffets with price tags that feel like a punch in the gut. Each decision looked small on paper, but together they cracked the foundation of trust that Vegas was built on. And while casino bosses chased billion-dollar distractions like Formula One and the $2.3 billion Sphere, they forgot the one thing that actually mattered. Vegas was built for the people, and people only come back if they believe they still have a shot. Now, with visitor numbers plunging, hotel rooms sitting empty, workers being laid off, and families fleeing the valley, Las Vegas is staring down a breaking point it may never recover from. Economists say this isn't just a Vegas problem, it's a warning for America itself. So the question isn't, can Vegas be saved anymore? The real question is far darker. Is it already too late? The first cracks in the Las Vegas empire didn't arrive with dramatic headlines. They slipped in, quietly buried inside the very numbers that once defined the city's unstoppable rise. By mid-2025, the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority reported just 19.66 million visitors for the year so far, a staggering collapse from the 42.5 million who flooded the Strip in 2019. But this wasn't just a statistic, it was a warning shot at the heart of a city that lives and dies by tourism. Hotel occupancy, once reliably above 90%, now dips below 80%. Entire floors of mega resorts built for endless crowds stand empty, even on weekends that should have been packed with conventions and sporting events. Every vacant room is more than lost revenue. It's a five-alarm fire for a city built on volume. And the damage doesn't end with the hotels. The pulse of Vegas itself has weakened. Regulars, the gamblers who once filled blackjack tables and roulette wheels, are either spending less or staying away entirely. The breaking point became undeniable when casinos introduced triple-zero roulette, a move so blatantly tilted against players that it felt like a slap. It was meant to squeeze out a little more profit. Instead, it lit a spark of resentment. For countless tourists, it was the final sign that Vegas no longer cared about fairness. Then came the buffets, the great symbols of Vegas indulgence. Families once bragged about eating like kings at Caesar's Palace's Bacchanal or the Bellagio buffet. But soaring costs and dwindling foot traffic forced those spreads to shrink close or raise prices so high that the average visitor simply walked away. A $50 buffet used to feel like a treat. Now it feels like betrayal. Meanwhile, global tourism has moved on. Travelers seeking value are heading to all-inclusive resorts in Mexico, hiking through Canada, wandering neon districts in Japan, or drifting through Europe's cultural capitals. These places offer clear pricing, clear value, none of the hidden fees that have stained Vegas's reputation. Even Americans are choosing Florida or Texas over a costly trip to the Strip. The result is a long-term collapse disguised as a temporary slump. Tourists are coming less, staying shorter, and spending far less. In 2019, the average stay was 3.4 nights. Now it's barely 2. Spending per visitor has plunged as travelers refuse overpriced shows and gamble less. Empty rooms, vanishing buffets, quiet casino floors, shortened trips. They all point in one direction, a system unraveling from the inside. Yet the executives insist everything is fine. They appear on television assuring investors the crowds will return any day now. But down on the ground, workers and small businesses know the truth. The Strip no longer feels invincible. And if Vegas can't hold on to its tourists, what exactly is left? The foundation of Las Vegas didn't crumble because of one disaster. The real poison came from within, from the decisions made by the casino corporations themselves. What once felt like a playground for everyday Americans slowly morphed into a trap built on hidden costs, unfair odds, and billion-dollar gambles that blew up in their faces. It started with the infamous resort fee. There was a time when booking a room at the Bellagio or MGM Grand meant paying exactly what you saw. No surprises. But now travelers arrive at check-in only to discover an extra $40 to $60 per night tacked onto the bill for amenities they may never use. For hotels, it was easy money. For guests, it felt like betrayal. Outrage spread across social media as visitors accused the city of running a swindle. The magic of arrival curdled into resentment. Then came the parking fees. Vegas had built its legend on free parking, a silent gesture that welcomed everyone, but the corporations reversed course, charging $15 to $25 a day. For travelers trying to stay on budget, it was another reminder that the city now saw them as targets, not guests. And when gamblers stepped onto the casino floor, they found something even worse. The introduction of 000 roulette was a breaking point. Adding one more zero might sound small, but it sent the house edge soaring. To the average visitor, it was unmistakable proof that Vegas no longer cared if you had fun, only how fast you lost your money. Regulars noticed, and many simply stopped coming. But the most disastrous decisions came from the billion-dollar vanity projects. Executives poured staggering sums into Formula One, and the Sphere, convinced that hype alone would generate long-term profit. The Formula One Grand Prix, pushed with a $20 million sponsorship, turned the Strip into a gridlocked nightmare. Locals were furious. Tourists fumed as hotel prices surged above $1,000 a night, only for them to spend their trip trapped in stalled traffic. It made global headlines, but for all the wrong reasons. Then there was the Sphere, a $2.3 billion technological marvel that dazzled the city skyline. Yes, the exterior is stunning and the shows inside are breathtaking, but financially it's been a disaster. Ticket sales and sponsorships can't cover its crushing debt. Instead of saving the city, it's become an anchor, dragging it deeper, pushing executives to squeeze visitors even harder. The strategy behind all these moves is unmistakable. Short-term cash grabs at the expense of long-term trust. For years, they gambled that tourists would tolerate the fees, the worse odds, the overpriced buffets, and keep coming back for the spectacle. But in 2025, that gamble has failed, spectacularly. Visitors now have options, and they're choosing to go anywhere but Vegas. The irony is brutal. In their desperation to grab a few extra dollars through resort fees, parking charges, and inflated food prices, casino operators may have broken customer loyalty forever. Middle-class Americans, once the backbone of Vegas, now shake their heads and walk away. Meanwhile, international high rollers find better value and more respect in Macau, Singapore, and Monaco. The executives dreamed of turning Vegas into a playground for the global elite. They forgot the Strip was built on everyday Americans seeking affordable thrills. By alienating locals with traffic chaos and a soaring cost of living, they weakened the community that once kept Vegas alive between big events. These weren't simple missteps, they were fatal errors. Decisions that accelerated the city's collapse by prioritizing spectacle over people. In the end, the corporations didn't just rig the game against tourists, they rigged it against themselves. When the casinos made these choices, it wasn't the executives who felt the pain. It was the workers, the people who keep Las Vegas breathing. Behind every neon sign and spinning slot reel stand thousands of bartenders, dealers, cooks, housekeepers, and stagehands whose livelihoods depend on a steady stream of visitors. And now those jobs are disappearing. Throughout 2024 and 2025, industry reports confirmed the grim truth: thousands of workers on the Strip were laid off or had their hours slashed. Giants like MGM Resorts International and Caesars Entertainment quietly cut staff as revenue declined. For those on the ground, the change hit like a tidal wave. Entire shifts vanished. Part-timers stopped getting calls altogether. A union representative put it bluntly: Vegas doesn't feel like the American dream anymore. For most of us, it's just survival. Housekeepers, once relying on constant turnover and steady tips, now walk silent hallways lined with empty rooms. At blackjack and poker tables, dealers see the crowds shrink, the bets diminish, and the tips dry up. In restaurants, servers watch diners cut corners, skipping drinks, sharing plates, doing everything they can to stretch their budgets. In a city built on tipping culture, watching it collapse is devastating. Meanwhile, the cost of living in Clark County is skyrocketing. Median rent has surged nearly 30% in just 3 years. Foreclosures are rising again, echoing the haunting collapse of 2008. Families who finally believed they had stability are packing their lives into boxes, fleeing the valley because they can no longer afford to stay. The bright lights of the Strip mean nothing when you can't put food on the table. This is where the hypocrisy becomes impossible to ignore. Casino executives collect million-dollar bonuses while cutting the paychecks of the very workers who built their empire. The people scrubbing floors, dealing cards, pouring drinks, they're treated as expendable. But when these workers lose hope, the entire ecosystem of Las Vegas begins to crumble. And it's not just casino staff suffering. Taxi drivers, rideshare operators, street performers, small business owners, show producers, everyone depends on the overflow of tourist money. When visitors tighten their belts, these people feel it instantly. A taxi driver told a local paper, "I used to get 5 or 6 runs to the airport a night. Now I'm lucky if I get 3. That's the real Vegas story, not the glossy dreams in the commercials. The human cost is heartbreaking. Families are being torn apart as breadwinners move out of state for work. Children are pulled from schools because their parents can't pay rent. Retirees who gave decades to the casinos are forced back into low-wage jobs just to survive. The ultimate irony is painful. Las Vegas built its global reputation on the backs of its workers. The cocktail servers who smiled through every order, the dealers who made every hand feel electric, the performers who dazzled crowds nightly. Without them, the Strip is nothing but concrete and blinking lights. But today, those same people are treated as disposable. And the result is a city that feels hollow, drained of the humanity that once made it magical. This is the true fallout of Vegas's collapse, not spreadsheets, not statistics, but the destruction of the very community that held the city together. And once those workers are pushed out for good, there may be no one left to rebuild what's falling apart. To truly understand what's happening in Las Vegas, you have to look beyond the Strip. Vegas has always been more than a tourist town. It has been a reflection of America itself. And right now, that reflection is terrifying. For decades, economists repeated the same warning: if you want to see where the American economy is heading, look at Las Vegas. Today, the Strip is flashing warnings brighter than any neon sign. When middle-class Americans feel financially secure, they pour into Vegas. They gamble, they upgrade hotels, they splurge on buffets and shows. But the minute they feel squeezed by inflation, layoffs, interest rates, that Vegas trip is the first luxury to disappear. That's exactly what's unfolding in 2025. Across the country, credit card debt has surged past $1.3 trillion. More people are falling behind on payments. Wages refuse to keep up with rising prices. If an American family can't justify a $300 hotel room in Nevada, how can they handle their mortgage, groceries, and car payments back home? The real estate market in Las Vegas paints an even darker picture. Foreclosures in Clark County are rising again, echoing the nightmare of the 2008 crash. Families who stretched their finances to buy homes during the pandemic boom are now watching those dreams collapse under the weight of soaring interest rates. The Strip may glitter, but just a few miles away, neighborhoods are filled with for sale signs and boarded windows. This is more than a Vegas crisis, it's a preview of what could spread across America. Look at Atlantic City, once marketed as the Vegas of the East Coast. When tourists stopped coming, casinos died and the city fell with them. Today, Atlantic City is a shell of its former promise. And now Nevadans are whispering the same question: are we next? The parallels are chilling: corporate greed, a tourist-dependent economy, and communities left behind. The collapse of Vegas mirrors the slow decay of the American middle class. In the 1990s, families from California, Utah, or Arizona could drive to the Strip for a cheap weekend of fun. Today, those same families are slamming into a wall of resort fees, parking charges, and $50 buffets that feel like insults. This isn't just about travel. It feels like the American dream itself is slipping away. Internationally, the shift is just as brutal. Global tourists who once dreamed of Vegas now book flights to Cancun, Tokyo, Barcelona. High rollers who packed Vegas VIP rooms now head to Macau, where they say they're treated with respect, not suspicion. When a nation can't even hold on to its crown jewel of tourism, something much bigger is breaking. The old saying, "What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas," is dead. What happens in Vegas today spills everywhere into housing markets, workforce stability, national spending habits, even the country's global reputation. The layoffs on the Strip foreshadow coming layoffs across America. The cracks in Vegas housing mirror cracks in the entire nation's housing market. Empty buffets and half-booked hotels echo a loss of consumer confidence nationwide. Vegas is simply the most glamorous stage for a national unraveling. The symbolism is almost too perfect. A city built on illusion and belief is collapsing for one haunting reason: Americans no longer believe. Not in the economy, not in their leaders, not in their future. And once that belief disappears, no amount of neon can light up the darkness. This is why Vegas matters. This isn't just about a city in the desert. It's a test of whether the American system built on endless spending and credit can survive. Because if Vegas can fall, maybe the entire model America has sold to the world is falling with it. By now, it's painfully clear that the problems strangling Las Vegas aren't temporary. They are structural failures, deep systemic cracks no billion-dollar project or flashy ad campaign can fix. And the truth that leaders refuse to say out loud is this: for Vegas, it may already be too late. The first and most devastating reason is a business model that simply no longer works. For decades, the magic of the Strip was built on a simple promise: anyone could come to Vegas and feel like they had a shot. Cheap buffets, free parking, fair odds. Even if the house won, you walked away feeling you got a fair deal. That promise is dead. Now the model is built on extraction, hidden resort fees, parking charges, 000 roulette, $20 cocktails, $50 buffets. A city meant to thrill its guests now suffocates them. And once trust is shattered, it's almost impossible to win back. The second fatal blow is the disappearance of international tourists. Before the pandemic, Vegas thrived on visitors from China, Europe, and Canada. But in 2025, those travelers are taking their money elsewhere to Macau, Singapore, Cancun, Tokyo. Global competition has evolved, and Vegas has lost its monopoly on spectacle. These destinations offer luxury without the hidden fees, without the sense of being bled dry. Then comes the third reason, the collapse of loyalty at home. The American middle class, the backbone of Vegas for generations, has been priced out entirely. With credit card debt at record highs and wages falling behind inflation, families can't justify spending thousands on a weekend. When people from California or Arizona, the core drive-in markets, stop making their annual Vegas trip, that tradition dies forever. The fourth reason is Vegas's unsustainable illusion of luxury. The city poured billions into stadiums, towers, and showpieces, desperate to reinvent itself as a global luxury capital. But Vegas cannot out-luxury Dubai, Singapore, or Macau. Meanwhile, its own foundation, housing, transportation, workforce stability, is collapsing. The glamour evaporates the moment a tourist steps off the strip and sees homeless encampments just blocks away. Even the so-called rescue plans sound hollow. More stadiums, more conventions, more mega projects. None of these address the disease at the city's core, a shrinking customer base and a business model that squeezes fewer people for more money. It's not a strategy, it's a death spiral. The city is doubling down on a losing hand. And then comes the most devastating truth of all. The city has lost its soul. Vegas was legendary because it made ordinary people feel extraordinary. It gave you a fantasy, even if just for a weekend. But corporate greed dismantled that magic piece by piece. You can rebuild hotels, expand casinos, add spectacles, but you cannot rebuild trust. And trust is the one currency Vegas cannot survive without. That's why economists, workers, and longtime visitors are all admitting the same thing: the collapse isn't coming. It's already happening. You can see it in the empty rooms, the shorter stays, the dying buffets, the laid-off workers, the families fleeing communities that once thrived. Vegas isn't slipping. It's in freefall, slow, quiet, unstoppable. When historians look back, they won't ask why Las Vegas collapsed. They'll ask why no one sounded the alarm sooner. In the end, the story of Las Vegas is the story of a dream that simply outlived its era. For decades, the entertainment capital of the world promised a temporary escape from reality, even if only for a weekend. But today, those neon lights no longer mask the painful truth. A city built on illusion cannot survive once the illusion fades. Walk the strip at night, and you'll still see the familiar symbols: Caesar's Palace, glowing like a modern Colosseum, the Bellagio fountains dancing on cue, the massive sphere dominating the skyline. But if you stop and listen, really listen, you'll hear something else. The silence. The absence of crowds, casino floors half-filled, workers without shifts, families packing up and driving away because the valley is no longer affordable. Vegas was once the embodiment of the American dream, a place where anyone could feel like a winner. Now it stands as a cautionary tale about greed, about short-term thinking, about what happens when a system values profit far more than people. The fall of Las Vegas isn't just the fall of a city, it's the collapse of a promise. Trust was the foundation that held this desert empire together. Trust that the odds were harsh but fair. Trust that the price you saw was the price you'd pay. Trust that when you visited, you weren't a mark, you were a guest. That trust has been shattered beyond repair, and the signs of collapse are everywhere. Empty hotel rooms, shorter trips, ghostly buffets, workers laid off after decades of service, neighborhoods hollowed out by rent hikes and foreclosures, a community unraveling in real time. Historians won't ask why Las Vegas fell. They'll ask why its leaders refused to see what was happening right in front of them. Because today, the city that once felt unstoppable now feels fragile, vulnerable, exposed. And if a place built on spectacle and endless reinvention can fall this hard, what does that say about the country that built it? So why can't anyone stop the collapse of Vegas? Because by the time anyone admitted there was a real problem, the damage was already done. The city had crossed the point of no return long before the alarms began to sound. And now you have to confront the question that hangs over every empty casino floor, every deserted buffet, every family fleeing the valley. Can Las Vegas ever truly make a comeback? Or are we witnessing the final chapter of a story that once defined the American dream? The truth is simple and brutal. The warning signs were there for years. Hidden fees, predatory odds, billion-dollar distractions while the foundations crumbled. A shrinking middle class. Tourists fleeing to cheaper, more welcoming destinations. Workers pushed to the brink. A community hollowed out. Vegas didn't collapse in a single moment. It collapsed slowly, quietly, through thousands of choices that bled away trust, loyalty, and hope. And once those things disappear, even the brightest neon can't bring them back. Today, the Strip still shines, but the silence beneath it tells the real story, a city built on illusion, now struggling to survive reality. A city that once shaped the future of entertainment now stands as a warning to the rest of America. So now the question turns to you. Do you believe Las Vegas can rise again, or are we all watching in real time as the last flicker of its myth fades into the desert night? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden truths America doesn't always want to confront.